You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, folks. Thanks again for coming back to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. I'm Ryan Hopkins, or JR. So, just like last week, today's guest is a little bit different, but we will talk about their southbound thru-hike from 1997, which I thought was pretty cool. I was actually doing a project for my job unrelated to the trail when I came across the semester a trail program at Emory and Henry College in Emory, Virginia, not too far from Damascus. And I was just blown away. I think I had heard of it before, but I didn't really give it a lot of thought, or maybe I didn't put the pieces together that it was a program run out of the college. But I was just really impressed and curious, and wanted to talk with the program director, Jim Harrison, who I was able to interview for today's show. So we'll hear from Jim, and he'll discuss a little bit about his thru-hike, and then how the semester trail program came to be, and how that program is doing. Once again, very grateful for Jim's time, especially those that are working on campuses or around education right now is a really hectic and draining time for them, I guess, for a lot of people. So was really grateful that he was able to make time. So let's get on with it. Here is Jim. All right, we are here with Jim Harrison. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Great. Well, if we want to start by just sharing kind of who you are and what you do for a living.
Well, I'm an outdoor professional, but I'm also, I'm also faculty at Emory and Henry College. So I direct the outdoor program here at the college. And again, I came to the college in the fall of 1998, and I was hired as a visiting professor in English. And I just thru-hiked the trail in 1997. My wife and I thru-hiked together. We went southbound, so we were directionally challenged. Had such a wonderful experience that we went back to Memphis, where we were originally from, that area in West Tennessee, and I finished up my last semester of grad school and wrote my thesis. And my wife was finishing up. Well, she was already a registered nurse, so she was finishing up a program she was in too, a commitment rather. And so we decided to, sell our house there, and after the experience, and move around the country. And we wound up, thinking, wow, we'll go back to Damascus, Virginia. We had such a great experience there, both when we were thru hiking. The town was just so gracious and so sweet and welcoming, and really just supported us. It just felt good. I mean, it's like a cosmic power spot in a lot of ways. And so, right, I took this job at Emory just to maybe be here for just a semester even.
Mm-hmm.
And everything just felt organically like home and family immediately, both at the college and in town. And so I started teaching English courses, and I realized that there was no outdoor club or program at the college. And so I started to, of course, I was super excited about the Appalachian Trail and the experience I just had. So, didn't take long, students were like, well, let's go hiking. And I was like, I want to take you hiking. And,
Right.
And so worked with the college, and started a club, and the club, grew out of the corner of my office to, become this, fairly large operation very quickly in just a couple of years. And college started putting images of hikers and, adventures on publications, and I said, wow, it seems like it's becoming part of the institutional landscape here. And Emory and Henry has been it's just been a privilege to be here because the institution has been so supportive and just embraced me and the idea of developing outdoor adventure as a big part of the student experience here. So I've been able to develop an outdoor program here that has some big kind of
Yeah.
market type programs, and the semester trail is one of those. And so I direct those programs. Still am faculty, and I still teach in the English department. But that's my that's a bit of my story here.
Yeah. First, let's go back with your interest in the outdoors. So, when did you first kind of hear about the AT and start considering it as something you wanted to do?
Well, I grew up uh, hearing stories of my grandfather, and my grandfather died before I was born, but my father talked about him often as having this vision to hike the Appalachian Trail back in the 40s, late 40s, early 50s, and so my father kind of regaled me with those stories, right, and the planning, and there was no such thing as a backpacking outfitter in this country, so he would send off to Sweden to get catalogs of trekking gear and the accoutrement that was really just not available here for the most part. And so there was a seed there, and so I was interested. And then when I went to college, I met some folks, made some friends that talked about the AT, and it renewed my interest in it. So those seeds that were planted early from from my grandfather, kind of inheritance, so to speak, it became a reality. It was like, oh, right, there are people doing this thing, and so I started planning to do it. And one of my friends thru-hiked, and he went southbound too right after he graduated college, and his name's Turner Overton, and so I thought, wow, what maybe I'll do that too. And so I started talking about it, and then I started planning for it and researching. Then I met a lady, right, and started, so right, we were dating seriously, and she eventually, became my wife. But even when we were dating, I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to think about doing the AT. In fact, I'm going to do it, so I'll be gone for 6 months. Well, more and more, she was like, well, I want to be part of that too, and I was like, of course. So we started planning it together, and it became something that the two of us were going to do. So I was married 3 years when we did it.
Hmm.
We were married 3 years, and because a lot of people were like, well, did y'all meet out there? And no, we didn't meet out there, and it wasn't our honeymoon. We'd already been married 3 years, and so it was a big journey for the two of us. And Turner, who had been the friend that was probably the closest to me that thru-hike, drove us up to Maine and dropped us off. He actually hiked a little bit of the 100 miles wilderness with us, and so it was just a really, really fantastic trip. And again, we had such support from our friends, right, Turner, in particular, in that.
I'm really fascinated by so many elements of this hike. I mean, just such a unique experience. Southbound, I think it was 1997, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. And, with a partner like that, I would love to hear more of some of the unique challenges and some of the benefits that you found, one, hiking southbound, and two, just hiking in the late 90s. I mean, I'm sure the trail was very different at the time. So what was that like?
I mean, in terms of gear was heavier and innately heavy, right? So trying to get lightweight was a bit more challenging. All packs were made out of really heavy cordura. You had big metal stays in your packs, and the go-to meal was canned tuna and mac and cheese, and right, again, carrying cans of tuna was heavy. So right, there were some innate challenges there, but right, once you get your trail legs, you can carry about anything. Another element that's really interesting now, considering the nature of the trail as being really dialed in, right, in
Hmm.
of electronics. We carried it back at quarters, and so it was all about payphones, and we would once in a blue come across a payphone, and it was kind of a big deal, and we would drop quarters and call family or whomever, right? But right, so no gut hook, no on your phone, checking in, or there wasn't that level of entertainment. If you wanted to listen to music, it was a Walkman. So
Yeah.
one of the guys that we hiked with had a Walkman, and yet he had a bunch of cassette tapes in his pack, and he had a bunch of batteries in there, and he
Oh,
had
wow.
big funny headphones, right? So
Yeah.
the gears changed, and some of those elements have changed. Now, hiking with a partner, with my wife, certainly has its some interesting aspects, right? I mean, and we dated for 2 years, and and we're just mad in love, and spend a lot of time together, and we spend a lot of time outside together, camping, and we're both outdoor folks. But you get to know someone on a through hike, so, in a way that you just couldn't even imagine, right? Because it's close proximity. We stayed in this tiny little tent and together, and the first part of the hike where it's so physically challenging, and painful.
Mm.
Every step is painful at first, it seems, and then you're looking for 2 hours without pain, and then you're like, oh, I just want a whole day without pain. And so going through that particular part of it, where you're just kind of in a right tough mood a lot, dealing with the pain and some of the the hardships associated with just the rigors of the trail, we discovered a lot about ourselves, and the best thing is that we just grew so much closer, and we learned how to be alone.
Hmm.
We weren't really ever apart from each other, and so we were able to find solitude, even though we were right together all the time, mostly. Now she would hike out of camp in the morning before me, and so we didn't always hike right with each other, but we would of course meet up throughout the course of the day and camp, but mostly we did. We stayed pretty close to each other, and
Yeah.
I think that kind of intimacy on the trail, laced with hardship, really strengthened our relationship. And actually, yesterday was our 27th.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Thank you. And it's been just a fantastic journey. Both, I mean, with my partner, with Elise, and so yeah, I think the trail is such a fantastic thing for right couples to do.
Yeah. Well, since you've been around the trail for quite some time now, I would love to hear from your point of view, maybe just some like high level things you've seen that have kind of changed about the trail and the through hiking experience over the years.
Well, again, I mentioned the level of communication that's now available out there, and that's what really helps make our program possible. The risk management and safety considerations on the AT really hinge on communication.
Yeah.
If there's an emergency, can you communicate? And am I able to reach out to hikers? Can hikers contact me with updates, and really just advice, and seeking advice and guidance, which on the forefront of that hike is just layered. So that's something that has changed. Again, the capability for layered kind of communication, both with GPS devices like the Garmin InReach, which is really
Hmm.
all of our hikers get those kind of devices, and they've gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and lighter and really more effective. And then cell phone service, and those combined together, with resources like Guthook and other programs and apps that really make that connectivity such a huge part of the program for us, and also just the experience. And that has changed a lot. So, and that's good. It also helps, with all the hostels that are out there, information travels quickly up and down the AT corridor. So, right, if there's a forest fire up ahead, for example, or a water source that's dried up. That information, that valuable, important information, moves even more effectively and quicker up and down the trail. Or if there's a problem spot, or a hostel that, so maybe something's going on there that folks ought to know about, etc. Right? Information, can be such a good, powerful tool. When I hiked in '97, I'm going to say that the trail wasn't super inclusive. There just weren't that many women hiking, and it's right. The trail experience was mostly dominated by white males, and so what I've seen, and this is just fantastic, is that the trail has become much more inclusive, and that is something to celebrate.
Yeah.
I live right on the Appalachian Trail. The trail dumps right out in my yard. For hikers coming into Damascus.
Wow.
So I'm the first house you get to in Damascus, and so my kids grew up giving popsicles to hikers, and I think our dog is on gut hug. So we see hikers pouring into town. Of course, we interact with some. Can't catch them all, obviously, but and we don't host hikers. We don't have a hostel or anything like that. But,
yeah.
We're still engaged in the hiking community, and so it has been nice to see again that level of inclusivity grow. There's so many women hiking the trail now. There are more of everyone hiking the trail, right?
Yeah.
All pronouns are represented in a way that it is just fantastic, and I look for that to grow, and I want to support that, in our program, and again, that's been a great thing. Every time I dip back out there and hike every year, well, and more women, are certainly attracted to our program. Right now for this spring 2022 cohort of semester trail hikers, we already have six women. So
Wow. Well, that leads me to my next point. I know we talked about it at the beginning when you were talking more about your position as director of outdoor programs at Emory and Henry, but this semester trail program I am so fascinated by, and is just so unique and incredible. I'd love if we were able to chat more about that. So you mentioned a little bit of how it came to be. What was the first year or first semester it really started to take off?
So, again, I had thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail in 1997, and I was here at the college in '98, and talking about hiking and sharing my experiences. And, it didn't take long. Students for students to ask me about the possibility of hiking the trail. And of course I was absolutely supportive of that. But typically, early on around 2000, that was, hey, maybe you should take a semester off from college, kind of a gap semester, which, that wasn't even in the lexicon at the time. It was just, hey, quit college for a while. Or wait till you graduate, and then once you graduate, hike the trail as I did, as my friend Turner did, and that was just kind of the norm, and really never even thought at first to incorporate it into the academic and experiential experience officially for the college. But in 2006, a student was in our outdoor leadership program, the predecessor of the adventure team. And, his name is Jason Hibbets, and he was a, really great guy. And he was also had been in the Navy. I'm sorry, he was in the Air Force. And so he was on the GI Bill.
Okay.
He said, I want to thru-hike the trail too. But if I take a semester off, I'll lose my benefits. So that's not possible for me. And, he was really serious and about hiking the trail. And he was also an English major, and he was taking a lot of my English courses. And so I was really, kind of engaged with Jason. And he was a really good writer, a really great, talented writer too. And knew he wanted to write about that experience. And I was like, wow, let's see what we can do. So a small college like Emory, again, it's just such a joy to be part of this community, because when I was an undergrad at University of Memphis, I didn't even know what the president of the college looked like, it was named. It was just such a tremendous, university. Well, I mean, I ate lunch with the president of the college at the time, Tom Morrison. So I would mention it. Again, talking about cutting through the bureaucracy. You're having lunch with. It's a casual relationship. It's,
Yeah.
we're on a conversational basis. So talking about these possibilities again, everyone was excited and supportive. So I was able to bring up the idea. Hey, what if we could keep a student enrolled and we could build some independent studies around the experience and send them out and they can have a thru-hike and that would become this big experiential journey. But think about the field-based implications, right? They're going to go out, it's like the biggest lab in the world, right?
Yeah.
So everyone was supportive of it, so Jason Hibbets was the first one in 2006. He was essentially the precedent, and
Got it.
he hiked southbound. And we were right now. So our first hiker was a southbound hiker. I guess the southbound hike was so ingrained in me, and trying to finish up a spring semester is really, it's hard to get out before May or the middle of May. So, a northbound hike starts becoming very limited at that time. So really, if you're going to finish up the spring semester full on. So that was Jason. He hiked and he did well and he finished, and his narrative nonfiction piece that he worked with me, an independent study. He published in the ATC journal.
Oh wow!
And went on to grad school in creative writing and did really well there. And so that was it. That's how it got started. And so at first it was just almost for no one, right? I mean, how many students at a very small college, 1,000 students, are really going to, engage, this idea of, thru-hiking AT and building some classes around it, because we can only really support students who are already at the college. And the only way another student could engage the program would be to transfer in completely, leave their institution, come to Emory and Henry and engage, as a fully enrolled Emory and Henry student. So, so again, we just weren't dealing with many at first, and it was just onesies and twosies here and there. But we did have some students do it for sure, and we garnered some national attention way back then. But it was, right, more sporadic, and again, students reached out. I was like, well, you have to transfer here, and they're like, don't know if I can do that. Was mostly the response, and then a renewed kind of interest in the program, and kind of just looking at all, kind of on the strategic level of the college, and again, haven't been here long enough to really be invited into those conversations. We were able to kind of look at the semester trail again as an opportunity to put a small college like Emory and Henry on the map, in a way that says so much about the institution. We can think outside the box. We can get outside of the box, right? We can play outside in a way that is transformative for students, and attractive. And then that's when we broached out, hey, would it be possible to make it available to students so they could transfer from an institution, have the experience, and transfer back to their institution of origin? We did all the research and said, yeah, it looks like we can do it.
Wow.
But it really took 20 years. It's been an incredible amount of work, and the risk management and liability piece of it has just been huge. Working with
Yeah, I believe it.
working with lawyers, and Virginia is, litigiously challenging. It's weird when I go to risk management seminars like the National Wilderness Risk Management Conference. I'll go through the legal risk management seminar track, and that they'll make a point. The person presenting will make a point and go, well, unless you're in California or Virginia. So Virginia has its own set of interesting and challenging legality, and so working through that really was good, because I knew Virginia had some legal challenges, but investigating all those things really opened up all of the little nooks and crannies,
Yeah.
risk management, legality that we had to deal with as an institution to make this possible. So it's just been a lot of work. And again, I think in terms of education, it's been my vision. It's kind of a mission to create really meaningful and powerful educational experiences. So, and I think the semester trail is that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've noticed, and I was reading online, and there's some great videos on the website about the program. It obviously seems like the benefit of the small college is that whatever a student wants their semester trail program to look like is very tailored to them and their experience. So I'd love to hear, like, what are some of the requirements or kind of like hallmarks that have to be part of their journey or their semester?
Yeah. So again, it's really it's experiential experience. So it's a workshop in long distance backpacking. So and it's an academic experience. So it's two sides of a coin, and those work together, but they're also separate in some ways. And and I'm also in a kind of unique position here at the college because I am faculty and I teach courses, and I'm able to work on that side of things and engage other faculty and administrators in a way that is super important there to support students. I act as an advisor, but then there's also the experiential side of it where I direct an outdoor program, and I'm experienced and trained in again that realm. So I'm able to offer a synthesis of that experience. So on the academic side, all students who come in, regardless of what they're looking for, there are two common courses now. There's English 328, which is nature writing, and I teach that. So all students engage in nature writing. And they also engage a civic innovation course. It's really an Appalachian studies course, and Dr. Tal Stanley teaches that course, and it's really a bookend course, and it's on the front end, and it's the theme of the course is pilgrimage. So the overarching kind of umbrella idea of these two courses is all about place. Emory and Henry College we're right in the middle of Southern Appalachia, and place is such a key element here and an idea. And we want students to invest in place in so many different levels. And you saw if you've seen the video on the webpage where Tillman, one of the hikers, says, I think this is the way to experience Appalachia is actually, you're walking in the mountains and engaging the mountains. You're going into these small towns, and so getting to meet folks of Appalachia in a way that's really neat. So those common courses encourage thoughtful inquiry and reflection. The nature writing course, students engage, and we front load with some readings and some writings, but really students go out, and then on the back end of the experience, they create a project, a nature writing project. Obviously, is going to be reflective, and it's going to be a process there that is going to have some really interesting and powerful outcomes for the student. So academically, students are required to take those two courses, and then we work with them on with some other courses, and we have faculty who support the program and offer courses for the semester trail students. So I coordinate all that, and I coordinate that with for the students who've transferred in from other institutions. I work with their advisors and registrar office to make sure those credits are going to transfer back effectively. And then again, the requirements on the kind of experiential side, students have to go through my very immersive long distance hiking workshop, and students are required to have wilderness first aid, and we offer first aid course, and again I start taking folks hiking immediately, and putting a lot of those ideas and concepts in context, because long distance hiking, is really it's really different from backpacking.
Sure. Yeah.
Typical backpacking is more of an emphasis on camping. Hey, I'm going to load up all this stuff and I'm going to hike a ways, maybe a few miles, but there's still this emphasis on camping and camping well. We use the Knowles model forever. It's kind of an expedition model that we whisper light stoves, and we carried flour and made tortillas, and your food stuff is heavy, and food groups are really part of the group dynamic. And again, that's very different from long distance backpacking. And even a reasonably heavy kind of backpacking is not lighter, weight conscious long distance backpacking. So the workshop immerses the participant, the student, into that realm, kind of shifting that right, that thinking, or building a new lens to look at everything from, well, okay, it's not necessarily about camping, it's more about how do we make walking more efficient and better and helpful, because it is very taxing on the body, engage long distance backpacking, and how to do that reasonably healthy nutrition plan, and right, all the managing budgets and all kinds. I mean, your health is also a budget, your own physical resources, not just the financial stuff. And also with, getting students ready for what to expect out there in terms of the trail experience. And so again, we start with day hikes, then we go for overnighters, and also we provide the whole kit. So, and how to cook with that particular kit, and how to sleep in that particular tent that we provide. And so a student couldn't just come in and say, well, hey, let me know when we're leaving.
Yeah.
It's a program, and it's fairly regimented in the sense that even if, you're somewhat experienced, you're still going to go through the program. Right. And that's part of how we as a program are able to offer such an experience, is that we're going to put you through the paces, and, we're going to follow our protocols for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds obviously so much thought has been put into the student experience, and it's so robust in getting them to be successful with their semester trail program. So I'm listening to this, and I'm jealous that I didn't know about this when I was in school, because I definitely would have done it. What advice, or what would you say to a college student who may be a student at Emory and Henry, or they may be a student elsewhere, who's considering doing this program? What would you say to them?
Invest in a conversation with me. And that's how this starts. It's not going through and on, right, some kind of sterile application process that, is filling in fields in an application. That's not where the experience starts. The experience starts with a conversation with me. Let's talk. I want to know what your goals are. I want to know why you're interested in this. I want to know what has been your college experience thus far. Why are you drawn to the Appalachian Trail? It is an experience that's easy to romanticize.
Yeah.
I like to have those conversations, and really just talk. And some students hear about the program, and they're like, well, that's probably not for me. Well, again, I've had those conversations, and students are like, I don't think this is for me, but I thought I'd click on the button and request a conversation. And we have the conversation, and they're like, I'm definitely in. I didn't think it was possible for me, but it is. It's not for everyone, right? But I think it is for a lot more folks than people even consider. So
Sure. Well, I once again, I'm just so impressed by this program, and so grateful for the important work you're doing around the trail and getting young people connected with their education. I think that's just really fantastic. So in the show notes, I'll have the website where folks can learn more about it for themselves or for someone they may know. But Jim, thank you so much for your time today, and it was great chatting with you.
Thanks a lot, Ryan.
What a great conversation with Jim, and just what a really fantastic program Semester Trail is. I know I mentioned in the interview, but I'm so jealous that I didn't know about it or participated in it while I was in school. So if you're in college right now, or know someone that is, or has a family member, and this is something they may be interested in, definitely send them some information. I'll put the link to the website in the show notes, because I think it's just a great opportunity. And even if you're not enrolled at Emory and Henry, they make it really easy to transfer in for a semester to complete the program, which I think is just great. So if you have any specific questions about it, always feel free to email me. My email's in the show notes, and I can get those questions over to Jim if you want further clarification or information about the program there. Also, I didn't realize until later in the interview that when Jim mentioned he lived in Damascus, that is so cool. And, being able to just have hikers come through, I guess some people may see that as an annoyance, but I think that would be just a really awesome opportunity. So to live right on the trail in Damascus is a pretty cool real estate. So, all right. I will pass it over to Steve for the next segment of the show. And I think Steve may have mentioned this before, but he will be at Trail Days in Damascus, and I'm going to try to get up there as well. So if you see us around, make sure to say hello, and would love to connect. All right, here's Steve.
Thanks so much, Ryan. And what a remarkable program it is that Jim is running. What a mentor to have. Unfortunately, we had a few issues with the sound, some of which I wasn't able to resolve, but I hope that it didn't spoil your enjoyment of the focus that Ryan was giving there to the Semester A Trail program. You've got to hand it to Ryan. He seeks out different stuff, and the show is all the better for it. Thanks again, Ryan. If you want to find out more about Jim's program, then we've added a link in the show notes. I'm sure that many of you out on the trail right now will be heading for Trail Days in Damascus. It's being held this coming weekend, and I'm going to be there myself. I mentioned to you recently that I've repackaged my 2014 thru-hike books with a couple of edits, but mainly with brand new covers. Excitingly for me, my free ebook, Hiking the Appalachian Trail is Easy, is now available for the very first time in print, and I'm going to be bringing plenty of copies to Trail Days in case you'd like to buy them. If you're hiking, then we can mail them to whichever address in the US you'd like, so you don't have to lug them around. But even if you're not interested in the books, or you already have copies, please drop in and see me at Trail Days. Something I'm sure we all notice when we're no longer on the trail is the fact that most people don't want to hear our hiking stories again and again. Shocker, eh? I remember telling Trigger, tell everybody your stories for about 3 weeks, and after that, they're just going to want you to shut up. So meeting up with hikers is always an opportunity to relive those days of our lives that have had such an impact upon us. So come and say hi. I'd love to catch up with any old friends and make plenty of new ones. Now, as we learned last week, Katie has been recuperating at home, so with nothing particularly new to report, I asked her for a brief text update. So here it is. She says, I'm continuing to exercise without adding a lot of walking. I am quite anxious to see what my doctor says on Thursday, which actually is the Thursday this show comes out. I'm hoping to connect with a physical therapist via telemed who can support me during my hike when I go back on. I've been exploring my wildflower field guides and revising my pack list. I think I can bring my weight down by 3 to 4 pounds. When I got off trail, the trees were just budding in Virginia. Now they're covered with leaves. I'm so ready to get back on trail. And when I followed up with when she's going to be back out there, she replied, plan to get a ride back on Monday and be on the trail by Tuesday, May the 18th. So she's still coming back. I just hope she's learned that nice and easy to start is always the way forward. I look forward to resuming our chats on next week's show. This time, with a bit of luck, Katie will have an easier way forward. A couple of more things to finish. First, thanks this week to a donor, Linda Lindahl. Linda donated a generous sum and wrote, you make my long day hikes fly listening to your interesting and often inspiring interviews. My husband wants us to thru-hike the AT together when we retire in a few years. I'm an avid day hiker, but I've never been interested in backpacking. Your podcasts had me thinking twice. And she finishes with one of those smiling emojis. Nice. Thanks, Linda. Then the last thing today is our virtual walk on behalf of Parenting Matters, our awesome local parenting education agency on which I'm a board member. I've really been remiss in not pushing this more. A couple of you have signed up to join Mighty Blues Tramley, and I'm putting out the call for the last time today. Basically, you sign up to join us and we all, wherever we are in the world, walk a total of 5 miles between Monday, May the 17th and 10 days later on May the 27th. The cost is $35 per person, and you will be helping a truly magnificent cause to strengthen families. I hope to have some of you on my side, and the link will be in the show notes. Cheers. As I say, pop in to say hello this weekend at Trail Days, but Ryan will see you next week.